Otherwise, it's no tech, no nothing, no news, no nothing. I'm out. Give me a couple days away.
I'm out.
Yep,
I'm
I'm
out.
out.
All right,
I'm out.
I'm out about.
Remind me, I need to have a bit of a bitch session about that and a little bit about this whole fucking band race thing.
Hey, we're all about bitch sessions, man. So I'm game.
We are.
Otherwise, it's no tech, no nothing, no news, no nothing. I'm out.
Apparently,
did you go live? Yep.
Yeah, I went live.
We're on.
It's not me this time.
No, you got decent. Well, I say decent internet. You're still up in the middle of fucking frozen tundra, so your internet, by a carrier pigeon.
Yep. And the carrier just can't fly in this cold weather, so we're pretty much fucked.
It got cold here too. I'm like, what in hell's name has gone on? It suddenly got a little chilly down in this neck of the woods.
What did I miss when I was gone? Was it 42 below, something like that, wind chill?
Polar vortex. Yeah. I honestly, I don't know, because it was just cold. It was that nasty. We're staying inside. There's no reason to go anywhere or do anything kind of cold.
Yeah. Not cool.
Even the dog didn't want to go with for a car ride.
I shouldn't complain. You're up in that. It's like a -11 to -15 at the moment, and we are currently around about 10. So I'm going to shut the hell up because it's felt cold outside today.
It's good to see your face, Evan.
It's good to see your face too, man. And I saw Chris's face yesterday. Wasn't it yesterday? I can't remember days.
Yeah. What are we on today? Thursday, Wednesday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was a ton of. Thank you again for that one. That was.
Absolutely.
That was a ton of fun to do that. I realize I'm in dark mode and I'm trying to figure out how to get into light mode without being complete. I don't want all the brights. I'm trying to. It's going green. Maybe I got to turn some lights on. All right, I'll be back in a sec. I'll turn the overhead on.
I'm still in the crime scene. This is what happens when you leave for a week. You come back, it's like, so what happened around here?
Yeah, it's
Is that bright enough? No.
So Dan, Mr. Ovik asked, bring some colder weather, some warmer weather back. Actually, I did that. I had some in my suitcase. Customs took it. So warm weather had to stay. It turns out you can't bring vegetables or plants. You can't bring meat, and you can't bring warm weather.
Hey, speaking of customs, I got a letter from the ATF today. ATF hand delivered, which is kind of fun.
Hand delivered.
Did you have to sign? Do you have to sign for it?
Seizure. Bureau of ATF. Seizure. They seized some stuff on the Canadian border. Bless their little cotton socks. So if I want it back, I've got to figure out what I want to do with it. It's kind of cool. Bringing it in from a foreign country, I'm like, it's stuff that we use for research, and we already got a bunch of shipment stuff through, and I'm like, okay, you stop this one, you numpties. Do you want to tell me why the other stuff came through that we're using right now legitimately, and you stop this stuff? So more paperwork. We'll go through it tomorrow night. Like, seriously, you're that fucking worried about this stuff that just whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy coming across the border now because you have to have your COVID test and then like 3 different checkpoints, check for that. You also have to have, in Mexico, you have to fill out a questionnaire. It then gives you a barcode, and they scan that barcode. You have obviously your passport, which is normal. One other piece of paper. I had a whole stack of papers when I finally got on the plane. Never had to do that before.
This is by the plane. This is because you're not driving through. This is by the plane, isn't it? That's crazy. That's nuts.
Yeah, and then Delta blocks off that middle seat. So you have more space on the plane. That's kind of cool. And actually, our plane was pretty dead. The resort was quiet. I mean, man, those people. I feel bad for the people in Vallarta. They really need our money. You know what I mean? That's how they sustain and pay their bills. So it felt good to give as much money as I could.
Yeah, it's I can't fly Delta. We'll just leave it at that.
Can't fly Delta.
Delta.
Southwest.
Yeah, or Southwest for me. There's I'm keynoting a talk up in Alaska in I think like a month or so's time. And I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with it because I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm glad it's virtual because I can be there. Because if it was physical, up yours, Alaska Airlines, I can't fly there, bastards, because you're freaking United's booking boys and all that stupid shit. So we'll have a bit of fun with that. I'm sure.
I like this. I like this. Chris has got a little fire in his belly today.
There's a bunch of reasons. We will get to them after the main event. We will definitely get to them. There's
My camera's messed up.
hired 2 clients this week. It's actually kind of a fun week.
All right, Ryan, how did you get the blurry background? That's kind of cool.
It's a new filter setting or a virtual background setting in Zoom.
Is that the one you can do in TikTok where you can dance naked in front of TikTok and then other people have figured out how to remove that filter?
Definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, I don't want that. We don't need that on the YouTubes. Let's just not do that. Let's play with our filters.
So tonight, oh, Timmy. I don't even know where to start with this thing. Like it's been interesting watching it unfold and watching how our industry specifically has just kind of latched on, focused hard. You can see the Vipers coming with what they're doing. Yeah, it's been a long day. Where do I even start? I start with shit. I don't know, guys.
Shit.
Yeah. See, ready for that vacation. Seriously, the brain's all foggy. It's
how about we just simply start with what I would love to start with is how does this still happen? That's the interesting part for me. How does this happen? Because there's so many potential inputs, there's so many data points. What's happening for them to either not be heard, not be paid attention to, not be listened, not make it through the filters, not make it to the right person, the vendors not make what enables and facilitates that situation? And I don't want to talk about it from, well, it was easy and it was simple to do and all that shit. I just want to know why we are still sitting there like the 3 wise monkeys, this and this and this. I want to know how it still happens.
Convenience. It comes down to convenience. Somebody wanted to be able to do something more conveniently, which led to certain compromises being made, accesses being given. More convenience was desired because that first convenience wasn't convenient enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the root cause of it. It's, I've always said, if you want critical infrastructure, go back to a red lever behind a locked door in front of a guy with a gun. If it's, and we've said this, how long have we said, if it's on the internet, it's going to be compromised. Andre says it all the time, connected equals hacked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit, it's not even that. To me, it goes even further than that, which is the moment you lay hands on a keyboard, assume the fact that whatever you're doing is either going to be breached, has been breached, about to be breached, and going to be made public. Act accordingly. That to me is the really, really thing on that one. It's you're right, the convenience factor is really an interesting one. But again, where's the other shoulder? I want convenience. Don't do it. Shit's gonna go wrong. It's why do we always lean to the easier route? Why do we, again, it's a human thing. We need a brain digger.
It's the analog. It's energy saving is in our DNA. It goes back to the analog nature of our biology. Energy conservation is built into your DNA. So when we've now digitized our labor, the convenience factor ties back to our need for energy conservation as a survival mechanism.
You know, okay, so you say that. This is an interesting one. I'm going to ask you guys this one and answer honestly, please. Look down right now. In fact, all of you, everybody that's listening on this, look down right now at your computer screen. How many icons do you have on your computer screen? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 icons on my computer screen. That's it. I have my computer. I have 2 work folders. I have my LinkedIn posts, 2 PDFs I'm working on, and a document. That's it. That's all I have on my screen. How about you guys?
Which screen?
How many icons?
All right, smartass. All right, pick a computer because I got 2 big screens. No
Right?
icons.
I mean,
Yeah.
lots, too many. Although right now, very little because this machine just got rebuilt. So I haven't had a chance to
Evan, what about you?
build my desktop.
Like icons on my desktop?
Yeah, icons on your desktop, including folders and work stuff and anything like that. What do you have?
I haven't even looked at my desk for a while. Let's see. Oh, a lot.
Okay, because this is an intriguing one. Back to your convenience thing. For me,
35.
gotcha. Interesting. For me, I have no problem opening up like my hard drive and navigating across quickly just to see what's going, to get to the folder for work. I open my work folder up. From work folder, I go to, Hillbilly Hit Squad, all the other stuff. I go to clients, and I go to this, and yeah, it's 5 or 6 folders down, but it's click done, click done, click done, click done, click done, done, and it's 3 seconds. And I could put shortcuts all over the place, but I don't want to. I actually don't mind having that because I have structure, I have a process, I know where everything is, it's controlled, it's managed. If I ever want to encrypt a certain folder even further than it already is, I can do those things. And so to me, it's interesting on that one. I see a lot of other people that have like screens that I'm like, how the fuck do you know what the hell's going on there?
Well, I think part of mine is ADD. I mean, I live this way. The chaos of things, I almost find, peace in it.
Yeah.
I know where everything is and I can get to it quickly. The only time it's ever a struggle is when I'm not by my computer, maybe for a week or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh shit, where is everything again?
Yeah.
But you get into the flow where it's almost like your mouse just kind of goes where it goes. I mean, you're not even thinking about it.
Right. Because you talk
I have like 80 things on my task list right now, and they're all about 10% done. That's my life.
At the task list, I'm with you. Actually, I didn't do too bad. I spent some time this afternoon. I turned off everything. Spent a bit of time this afternoon, cleared out my Post-it notes on my desktop, literal physical Post-it notes on my desk. And I'm down to 2 Post-it notes over here and 2 over here. These are my notes for a talk I'm giving. And so I'm going to sit and work out slides, and that's just some other stuff. I've got one which I'm building a vibration device to go onto a gun platform for training. So it's a platform you stand on, and it's like the wobble boards. Like the wobble boards you use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the wobble boards, but it's a firing platform. You're stood on it and you're shooting. And cool. Yeah, it's really nasty. It's mean. In fact, it's Russian, which explains everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm using one of the iPhones I have and modifying the accelerometers in it and building like a vibration sensor in it, so it's more sensitive. So it actually gets all your trembles, so it picks up heartbeat and various other things. So you settle more effectively, you move more effectively. Because of the competition shooting stuff.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
That's awesome. And that's it. That's all I got.
So we're talking about the water hack.
Yeah, where the water effectively got poisoned.
I didn't even know what Oldsmar is.
Ooh.
I didn't even know where Oldsmar was until this happened.
Oh yeah, I don't know that anybody did.
Right, exactly. Now everybody's got a freaking there's a bookmark and a shortcut on everybody's desktop to go to the URL, the web page, the Wikipedia page, the Google Maps page, and the news, and probably the team's view for the fucking water treatment plant again when it comes back online.
Well, what's interesting is they said, hey, the change was made, and then the emphasis on the person being there and seeing the change made was an important thing to note, because how long would it have gone on, and would they have kept going, right? Maybe they were watching to see if somebody changed it back, because if they didn't, they were going to then move on to the pH meter.
Well, that's all they're like, well, the pH meter will save us. Oh, give me a
mm-hmm. Automated, by the way.
Yeah, there we go.
Pronounced computer.
I saw something, and I'll be honest, I saw a bunch of this stuff, and I haven't done a huge amount with it. I've seen a lot of it go through, but I saw something saying that they accessed twice, they got in twice. Is that substantiated or refuted? I haven't seen that.
That was substantiated by the sheriff at the press conference. So what had happened was the employee, this is to the best of my recollection, the employee had saw some mouse movement on the screen when they were either using it or watching it.
Yeah.
And, because the bosses were known to log in and look at things and maybe do things, there was no thought given to that at that time. And then it was only later when they noticed that the volume had been changed so significantly of sodium hydroxide, right? That he was like, oh, that's not right, made the change back, and then raised the alarm that something had happened.
So it's nice if we put it, potentially blind luck that person discovered it. So kudos to them for paying attention. Let's give a credit that one.
Right.
Serious credit for that individual for paying attention, as opposed to going, whatever it could have been, they're testing or some of that shit. Kudos to them for actually having the nous to say something and do something about it.
Well, it almost sounded like though he was at the console.
Yeah.
When the mouse started moving by itself, so you would have noticed that.
Right. And the first time he did notice that, he went, oh, it's my boss. It wasn't until the toxicity level was cranked up on the chemical that anybody took action. And we all know, and to Chris's point, not focusing on how easy or hard it may have been to do what they did, truly sophisticated folks really looking to cause damage wouldn't use techniques that involve the GUI. So that's the saving grace, maybe, or not.
When did news broke of this on what, Monday?
I heard about it over the weekend. Somebody had sent me.
Because it was almost like as soon as you because they didn't announce kind of how it took place, I think, until maybe like yesterday, day before, maybe. But it was funny because when you heard about how they attacked, on the security podcast with Brad, I was like, oh, dude, this sounds like it just it happened by, I guessed it would have been RDP. I didn't guess that it was TeamViewer. I guess that it was RDP. I guess that it was just a password, and then you see all the stuff come out. So
no firewall, shared password.
No, because and then to Chris's point, why would I think that? Why would I already know that this was the attacker? Because we've seen it so many fucking times. And at what point, how do you stop it?
Well, change the safety standards. Change the water. Water safety now involves making sure that the OT is not treated like IoT, right? Keep them separate.
But they've had it. Okay, so hang on. Let's interject here. Safety standards have been in place. You've had FERC and NERC for a while. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. It's in place, but it's not enforced, kind of like HIPAA used to be. HIPAA was really like you to do something about this, kind of please and thank you, until they got teeth, 2 years ago, whatever it was, when they actually started to bite back. And even then, it's like, yeah. And to me, that's the whole thing. It's like, you know what? You are playing with people's lives now, but you have been for a number of years. You take it seriously from a safety standpoint. I mean, I remember going into pen testing a bunch of these places and getting serious freaking safety briefings and all sorts of shit. before I was allowed to set foot into many of these places. Yeah, the IT, it's like a fucking free for all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, OT, and I think the OT thing, again, OT is very much a safety first. Steam plants, perfect example, if you fuck up, you will die. Electricity, if you fuck up, you will die. I remember doing a bunch of pen testing and stuff with railways. If you fuck up, you will die. And by the way, we won't know it because 1,000 ton of train ain't gonna slow down.
Right.
And it's
Well, and that's why I say it's safety. So
yeah.
if the laws that regulate water are public health laws, then the laws that regulate the IT used to regulate things regulated by public health should be a public health issue. That for me would be the governing body it belongs under. Just because you're using the technology doesn't make it separate of the industry and the rules and things that you do. They have to learn how to use this stuff securely and safely within their existing context instead of trying to hot glue IT onto the side. That's part of the root of the issue is I want the convenience, which requires IT and all this fancy gear. Cool, I can now log in from the beach, but I don't ever really treat it as more than fancy pens and pencils.
Is it because, and Chip's timing in here, like IoT as a whole nother world, believe us, most of us have probably broken into that shit for a number of years. Is it because IT and OT used to be very, very separate? I mean, I remember the days when it was sneakernet. If you wanted to update anything on an OT architecture, you had to unplug and walk over there and put it in sheet dip machine and test it in the OT side of the world. And then you were allowed to do something with it by the man with the pencils and the pencil protector or the woman. It was very much that kind of was the environment. Whereas nowadays it's like, we can just log in and do it remotely. Is it what I mean, there used to be a hard and fast fucking line.
Right. And so I simply suggest we go back to that hard, fast line. With it's the slowdown that we've been talking about now for, I don't know, the last handful of shows that's gotten brought up. We're running a little too quick.
Is it too late though? Is it too late?
No,
Have we?
No, you can always add extra steps. You keep taking away.
Okay, so let me. My neck of the woods. I'm in Colorado, so there's a whole bunch of fracking operations around here. You go anywhere near some of those places with a very nice spectral analyzer at certain frequencies. By the way, you can get them at Blade RS and Hack RS, and you start messing around with that shit. That's all online. I mean, it's broadcasting frequency systems. Locomotives are the same way. They used to be absolutely separate, but now you got 5 antennas on the stupid things doing OT stuff and IT shit, and it's star networks. And so, is the cat so far out of the bag as the horse bolted out of the gate? Whatever euphemism you want to use, have we gone too far down that line, or can we put that hard fast line into certain things? In other words, this shit's going to kill you. Absolute break. And then is it effective?
Analog safety switch. There should always be some type of analog safety mechanism. It's not the using of the tech, it's the overdependence on it. So automated pH monitoring, and there's other fail safes that they have, but the outcome potentially could have been complete water disruption until they dealt with the problem, right? Don't drink the water. The water's poisonous. It'll work out of the system in the next, couple days. And now they've got that humanitarian crisis aspect to deal with.
But is anybody else going to learn? I mean, again, we've seen it before. Actually, here's an interesting one. So I was on sorry to hit this one. So I got dragged into I think I sent a message to both you guys. I got into a live stream. I got dragged into a live stream on this a couple of days ago, whenever it was. And the live stream, we were talking, we had the water people on, ISACA, the water ISACA folks on. And they're like, well, and then they're going down this stuff, and it's very, very nice and very cordial and all that stuff. But they were like, well, we really haven't seen very much of this before. And I'm like, whoa, time out on this shit. I pulled up the document. There's been 8 cases at least in the US of this stuff happening, let alone the stuff that's happened in Israel, let alone the stuff that's happened in Europe and all this. We've got 8 documented cases. And yet the water ice hacker doesn't fucking know that. So I'm like, check, broken, process broken, people broken, system broken. Don't tell me, oh, we haven't seen this shit before, when you've got 8 documented cases that other people have done. And I can pull that shit up off the fucking internet.
Back to not
Is
what
it,
they care about.
and what wasn't part of this like supposed to be, President Obama's directive, the presidential directive, God knows how long ago it was, but NIST CSF was supposed to apply to critical infrastructure, yet nobody took it seriously. It's voluntary.
Yeah.
One of the critical infrastructures isn't just water and transportation, but you've also got like the food supply is just dangling out there. I mean, you want to poison a bunch of people, fuck. I mean, but nobody takes it seriously, right? Yeah.
60. I have 60 documented exploits against GE, fucking John Deere, and a couple of the others in farming equipment and food processing equipment. That's just really at the factory side. Everything from speeding things up and creating flammable shit. 60 fucking vulnerabilities that they just don't care about. I've got them on a damn spreadsheet. We keep showing them around. I'm like, oh, I'll do this one day. Like, when? Again, how many fucking people do I have to kill before you go, yeah, maybe we should pay attention to some of that?
Right. Well, there's a reason why we use the word critical, right?
Yeah.
Critical infrastructure. It's critical. And now you've got, CIS is off trying to do a little bit of everything for everybody, right? You go to their website and try to make sense of that shit. CISA, sorry, not CIS. CIS is doing great, but CISA, who is kind of the Department of Homeland Security arm thing for a lot of the stuff, it's sort of directionless. All the attention last year was all focused on voter security, right? That was it. The election was everything to them. But even looking at their site, they're trying to help out every state, every county, every city by offering free pen tests. If you want a free pen test, well, you got to wait 2 years because there's a fucking backlog. Well,
right.
Okay. So they're trying to do all of everything other than what should we focus on? What is the most important thing we should be working on right now? We kind of got started with critical infrastructure. Okay, great. Then focus on that. What's the most important thing that, water plants need to have in place? Well, how about some resilience? How about some redundancy, right? A lot of water plants you can't even update. This one was running Windows 7. They couldn't update because if they did, then they were going to bring the water supply down. I mean, that's their mentality. Yeah. FDA does that same shit with drugs. Mm-hmm. They don't, they're so controlled on the integrity of the system that they won't allow you to patch it. So it's like, well, and I've had these discussions with them before. So either I do this as a planned thing or it becomes an unplanned thing because some attacker's just going to come in and fuck this all up. I'd rather do it planned, but I don't know. It just seems like we're trying to do a little bit of everything with everything at the government level, as opposed to let's just focus on what's the most important thing right now.
One thing, yeah, just get one thing right for a change. Yeah, trying to find that.
Because I mean, there's no excuse whatsoever for having this thing dangling out there like that, and this isn't the only one.
No, not by a long stretch, and I'm actually trying to find the document so that I'll also
I was surprised this hasn't happened sooner, given that it was running Windows 7. It did have the security posture it did. I'm actually quite surprised.
Right.
It's crazy, man.
Well, and who does this now embolden? It did. Hopefully the fellow cities around that the sheriff was talking to took notice and started to figure out some of their stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if this attacker had 1 ounce of sophistication, you wouldn't have known it till it was too late.
So actually, here, let me just share this out quickly. Share.
And we do have some like adversaries in parts of the world, don't we?
No, everybody loves us. What are you on about? I mean,
Yeah.
we're
I mean, if
global.
I was if I was a terrorist, man, I would fuck.
So
But that's the
this,
thing. We don't think of, like, you think about it that way, Chris. You always think about it like, what would I, you talked about it yesterday. When
yeah,
you walk in as a CISO, what's the thing that I can do to blow this thing up? That's what I want to focus on right now.
yeah, totally.
All
I'm
right,
going to
sorry.
put
Go
in
back to show me that.
Harrisburg Water Treatment Facility. That was the 10th. And that was, when did Harrisburg was done? When was Harrisburg? Can somebody figure out when Harrisburg Water Treatment Facility Act? Um, oh, oh, 2006. So
Oh,
like
okay.
snap. Um, okay, so that's 2006. We had 10 up to 2006. We've had 14 years. 14 years since then to learn and to probably count how many others. I don't know how many others we've had. I mean, that's crazy. So that was that. I didn't realize how old that document was. That's 2006. It's fucking nuts. What's that
Right.
article? Is that the article?
That's one of them. Yep. Yep. I had
Oh,
forgotten about it.
yeah, there we go. 2006. Holy smoke. And that was the 10th. Here, I'll put the PDF up there. No, what? I'll find it. There we go. Yeah, there it is. I'll put it up on, good God, Union Carbide. Yeah, don't even go there on Union Carbide. Good God. That was India. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know if actually, I don't know if that, I think I was in the UK still. I think I was in the US. Union Carbide plant in India. Horrendous issues and killed tens, hundreds of that. I don't know how it was.
The Bhopal disaster, 3787 dead, at least
Yeah, that was it. There we
16,000
go. Yeah, that was
claimed.
the one. Good grief. Yeah, 1984. Yeah, 14 years old. Yeah, I remember that. And that's it. So here we go. Deaths, at least something over 16,000 claimed. Well, it's again, I mean, we talked about this. Did we talk about this or was I talking about this with somebody else? I can't remember. It's been a long couple of weeks. We're talking about the fact that we don't change. You know, we saw it with Ford, we saw it with the Pinto, we've seen it with gas tanks, we've seen it with seat belts, we've seen it with airplane. And we talked about last week because I went on a rant with aviation. I remember now. I do remember. We don't seem to change until the bodies pile up. And this is another one of those examples. Who was that? Was that Tim? Yeah, well done, Tim.
And it's true, but it just don't approach these problems, I think, the right way. Right. If we focus on, give me five things, right? Instead, what we do, so critical infrastructure, okay, we're going to create this NIST CSF, we're going to make it voluntary, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's going to follow it because nobody gives a shit because there's no consequences for it. But if you go to every one of the water treatment plants across the United States and say, hey, five things, you have to submit evidence that you've done these five things by this date. Otherwise, you're going to fine you $1,000 a day or something, right? I mean, you just give me five things. Don't give me a fucking standard that I don't understand. It's not prescriptive enough anyway.
I don't want your money. I want publicity. I don't want your money. I want to rank
Sure.
you. I
Yep.
want to take the security. I want to take security studio attitude. I don't want your money because that'll come back to me. That gets added to my damn taxes or my water treatment bill. I want publicity. I want you. Shamed is the right way of putting it, but I want a ranking system that says, I know I can safely drink water in here within the IT OT world, and all the old motherfuckers here, you're screwed. Here's the person you want to write to.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I
Right.
think
It's like oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh no, I was just going to say that the five things are actually very simple. We just need the wall. You just have to wall it up. Just make it as hard for me to get to the control physically, or I'm sorry, digitally, as you do to make it for me to get to it physically. That's all. Just
Right.
be equal. Just protect it to an equal standard. I can't just walk up and turn a dial, so I shouldn't just be able to log in from the outside and turn a dial.
Make it harder on the
Yeah.
digital front, because the physical front, typically, let's face it, it's hopper fence if you're lucky. It's a little bit of barbed wire on top, and it's a 30-second padlock if you're lucky.
Still better than what they had.
Cannot.
Well, but you see,
Yes.
but that's exactly right. I told you guys like maybe like a couple weeks ago, months ago, my daughter really struggling in school, right? So far behind, so you had to get from way over here to way over here, but you couldn't do it overnight. I asked her to do three things for me. Focus on these three things, nothing else. I don't care if because if you take this big fucking thing, you're going to be overwhelmed. You're not going to do it right. Right. So just do these three, take these baby steps. So working with, places that security is not a language they speak, obviously. So let's give you three, let's give you five things, right? Just show me that you did these things. It's simple. It'll take you 15 minutes, right? And then once you've shown that, let's do 3 to 5 things, right? And then let's do the next 3 to 5 things, rather than I'm going to shove this big ass NIST down your throat and you're never going to get it done.
No, I'm with you, and that's we see it too often. And here's the other problem with this damn thing as well. If I'm running the water treatment plant, I got a few things I got to figure shit out in 10 different things. If you come at me with another set of bloody controls that I have to deal with, they will get added to the same pile as NIST 800 or 171 or FERC or NERC or FISMA or any of the other stupid shit that you've asked me to actually do that I probably haven't got time to do, and resources and all this stupid shit. To your point, I think it is. It's got to be, here's a fucking 1-page piece of paper. Just do this right, please.
So,
for this year, just do this.
So I actually wrote that 1-page paper 8 months ago. I'll put the link in the chat. This is what K-12 deals with. See, I'm from this world. I'm from I have a million gajillion things I'm responsible for in these devices and all this complexity, and I'm an island. One person trying to get it done. Because let's be honest, that small town, that's 15,000 people in that town. How many people do you think worked at that water plant?
Not too many, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Back to your point. Okay, so I'm gonna use this. Back to your point. You are a small town. You have a limited number of people, and there's one person that looks after the IT, OT side of the world. Maybe there's a couple of them. Okay, and they rotate it. But you're never going to have anybody there 24/7. Maybe you can be, but sometimes people are ill, sometimes shit happens. Let's face it. It's Florida, so you're not likely to get snowed in, but maybe it's too hot to go out or something. You need sometimes to be able to get to these things remotely. I would argue you do need to, especially again in today's age, you need to. I'd also argue there's ways of doing it safely. There are ways of going in and authenticating effectively and going to a jump box and remoting in and having all the controls in place to be able to do that properly.
Multi-factor at 2 different stages, right? So if you do a 3 to 4 step authentication when you're coming in from outside, I don't know, nobody's ever done the math on it, but I'm going to say 90% less likely to have something go wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, it's back to this. It's reducing the risk, make it harder, make it so that I sit there and go,
for me to get in as it is. Yeah.
Make it so that I go, fuck it, I'm going to go take the one down the road down.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just, what it is, and it goes back to what I said earlier, it's the analog safety. It's the analog fail safe. So if a human has to enter a code, a human gets alerted when somebody's making that attempt. That's what the real benefit of the multi-factor is it alerts someone that activity is happening. So plant manager at 2 a.m, you're getting alerts for an account login. That's a problem.
Right.
So I like this link, but again, I'll be honest, I want simpler.
Understood, but starting position.
No, I want it literally. I want one piece of fucking A4 paper with 5 bullet points on it. That's it. I think that's 2021 objectives. put them on the wall right
Yeah.
next to the computer, not so that you can write the password on the damn thing. Seen that shit happen.
Well,
Wait a minute.
Right.
I would advocate multi-factor would be the number one thing, honestly. And then the awareness training that comes with it to know that when you get that alert and you weren't expecting it, go take an action.
I would even back that up one step further, because we've talked about this before. Asset management. What are you exposing out there? Do a scan. Do something, right? So that you know that something's even hanging out there.
It's again, okay. So here, all right, again, devil's advocate for a second. Let me just play devil's advocate for a second. I got my little town of 15,000. I got 3 people who were looking after the place. They might not know how to run Nessus. They might not know how to run Nmap. They might not have time to. They might get whatever it might be. This is one of those things where maybe a better service could be offered, or a higher authority could come in and say, look, we actually know what your IP ranges are, because either we found them, we gather background intelligence, whatever it might be. We got you. Oh, here's the reason I like this. Israel, perfect example for doing this. Israel's like, hey, we got your shit covered. They know the entire IP range of the country. They have monitors in place to know when somebody fucks with a website or when somebody's system gets attacked. They've got that level of comfort blanket. Now, I'm not saying we do that US-wide, because there'll be a challenge, but at least somewhere in Florida, somebody should stand up and go, hey, everything is critical infrastructure. Here's the BP block. Here's this. We got this shit covered. We're just going to scan it continually, once a day, once a week, whatever it needs to be. And we will hold the 3 people. We'll give them a call and say, hey, look, your ass is hanging out in the breeze. How can we help?
Well, so you bring up a good point. So the fact that we don't know the IP address ranges of critical infrastructure in our country, I think is a big issue. So maybe we start there.
The voyage of discovery.
Question one, if we can't OSINT it somewhere, because that'd be a pain in the ass, but then give us your IP address range.
Yeah.
And because then
would it, Evan, or could we just pull into the parking lot of our local water treatment facility and open our laptop, grab it through the wire?
Yeah, but we'd have to do that with every. I can't drive to every water treatment facility, though.
But we can encourage people to start to take that action. Like, maybe that's the answer. Maybe we have to get a little more grassroots about getting involved. I can tell you that tomorrow I'm calling my local water provider and I'm asking, because they were very clear on their website about their state-of-the-art fancy SCADA system that they put in when they upgraded back in 2002.
So responsible disclosure, kind of the
I just want to offer help. I just want to say, if you're not looking into this, not trying to sell anything, make any money or anything, but if this isn't something on your radar that you're addressing as a concerned citizen, I'm more than happy to find people who will help you make this better.
I want it concerted, though. I mean, this is one of those things to me, is it needs to be concerted. I want a list of every water treatment plant in Florida on a spreadsheet, somewhere safe, that has the IP ranges, because then that can be distributed to, the necessary authorities to go, hey, look, we're watching this shit now, or somebody's watching it, or somebody's fucking doing something with it. But I want to it's got to be a concerted effort, and a well-managed one to some degree. Otherwise, some numpty is going to go pull the same deal again because somebody left a fucking open wireless access point somewhere.
Right. When you think like the Department of Homeland Security, right? I mean, you're like Homeland Security is like your thing.
I bet we haven't done this. Sorry, go on, keep talking. I've had a thought. Where was this place again? What was the place called? Oh, this is going to be fucking fun. I get a good answer.
Oldsmar.
Oldsmar.
Yeah, and like Tim said online too, you send them a questionnaire, they'll answer it. The ones that don't answer it, the ones that don't know, keep track of those and then go help them find it, right? Go to what'smyipaddress.com or whatever the hell you want to do.
How hard would it be to just make the water safety app? Why? There's just a quick little app that they could get, gives them a couple key pieces of information about the environment, like what's your IP address, right? Push the button, button 1. Here's that information. You Push button 2. Here's other information you need.
Here's the problem, because even if you pull that info, you don't know the net, but you don't always know the net blocks they have. And if they got 4 buildings, they got 2 providers, you end up. We just had this with some. I'm just going to call them individuals. This is one of those assessments where you walk in, you're like, hey, give us the range, give us this. We have a limited amount of time. Well, we don't really have all that information. Okay, what do you have? Well, we got some stuff. Okay. So they gave us some IPs and off we went on discovery, and then we came back with more that they had. Then we came back with more. Then we found like 300, and then we told them they had 104 websites that they, going to go into my corner and cry now.
I think if you just started with these 2 things, so I think we can even make the 5 a 2. 2 things. What's your IP address range? Right. And if they don't know it, we have to help them, because we should have that collection anyway, especially like the Department of Homeland Security, unless you do want people to die. Right. How could you? I mean, we just let this thing kind of flap in the wind. That's your asset inventory, at least what's exposed to the internet. Right. And then we can, how hard would it be to get a team of security people? We can do it ourselves to do an Nmap scan, right? Find things that are open, what's listening. And then, so that the first thing that they need to do, give us that IP address range, every water treatment plant in the country. And then the second thing that they need to do, when we find something like a 3389 or an 80 that goes to, or a 443 that goes to TeamViewer or whatever the fuck, the second thing that we're going to ask you to do is either close that shit or MFA it.
Yep.
And that's all we're going to do this year. 2 things: IP address range, close or MFA.
Does anybody know?
I love this. Because it's highly effective. It's the 2 things you need to do anyways to really stem the tide. I mean, so there you go.
Yeah, check Showdown first. Does anybody know that's Clearwater?
Chris, let me run this past you. I've avoided Shodan for certain things because of the potential.
I have Shodan up right now.
Hang on, for the potential of what? Go on, say that one again.
Of who actually runs it behind the scenes.
I wouldn't worry about that. I actually know from many, many years ago, a lot of the folks behind the scenes on it, they're good people trying to do the right things. Now, I don't know if that's changed in the last couple of years, but I know from times in past, I can vouch for some of the fucking amazing people behind the scenes that do a lot of that. My concern with using Showdown is promoting my search, because obviously the searches are public searches. Unless you're doing something, unless you got local, unless you got ways of masking. If you're just going out and asking questions, just remember those questions can be seen by others. They get ranked and all sorts of other things, which means other people now get to see what you're looking after.
Right.
Tim said he sent me something in email. I'm actually after the address, and I'm not going to say why at this exact second. Bastard.
What happened?
I'm gonna send. I'm not gonna put it on the open channel for all the obvious reasons in a second. Oh, fucking love you, Tim.
Taking notes.
Yep.
I'm not clicking that shit.
Oh, you can click that one. That one won't do too much. Well, you're probably going to visit by the feds at some point. Oh, I hate people. I love people. Tim, I love you. All right. Okay. What I want is the actual address of that one in Altamar. I'm trying to find the address of it. And there's a reason for it, and I don't want to say what it is out. That was already public. Thanks, Tim. Love you too. I'm not putting it out there. I want to know what the address of the Altamar one was, because I'm looking for something in particular, but I can't freaking find the address. I'm not very good at OSINT at this moment in time. Oh, there we go. Oldsmar Wastewater Department. Is that it? Yeah, I guess that's it, isn't it? Yep, Oldsmar Wastewater Service Department. All right, that's got to be the one. 351 Lafayette Boulevard. Is that it? All right, let's see if that's the one. All right, I want to check something. I'll keep talking. I'm geeking for a second. Sorry,
I don't even remember. What were we talking about?
doing the two most basic things that anyone can do to secure their critical
Yeah,
data.
that's right.
Get your IP, figure out now, is this getting their public IP or getting their, because we got to make sure we're really crystal clear. If we're just going to do two things, knowing that they don't speak our language, we have to be very clear. How can we help them? How do we get? Damn, ADD is just terrible today. Give me a second. How do we help them become aware of the help we're trying to give them?
Well, I think you make them aware. We have an example. What we're trying to do is to stop, or at least reduce the chances that the same shit that happened to Oldsmar is going to happen to you. Right. And I think what we're asking to do, two things, maybe only one. If you give us your public IP address range, or we find what your public IP address range is and we scan it and there's nothing hanging out there, you're done. Right. We take note of that. This water actually, what we need to start with is a list. If we're going to go after water treatment, we'd have to start with a list of water treatment plants in the United States. Do they register somewhere? Do they have to get a license somewhere? Do you know where we'd find something like that?
Well, we'll always start with the good old fashioned Googles, but yeah, I'm sure Google will tell me what it is.
Because then you can just create a simple spreadsheet. We'd have to find contact information for each one. Simple instructions on how to find IP address range if you don't know what it is. If you have an IT team or an internal IT team, go ask them. If they have an outsourced IT, that you're working with, go ask them. If neither of those two are true, well, then go to what'smyipaddress.com. Chances are you don't have a vast IP address range anyway. You probably have, a /28 maybe or something. You know what I mean? And
so
then,
I got some good
yeah.
news out of all of this. I'm actually sitting. You guys, I'm assuming, fairly familiar with Wiggle, the war driving network. It doesn't look like they've got any only open networks that have been war driven. So there is some shiny light at the end of the tunnel. It does not look like somebody's pwned them on the wireless side of the world.
That's good.
So that is a good thing. I feel a little less. Okay, good. Now I'll shut up and stop this for a second. All right, I'm done. Sorry.
No, but I think. I don't know if I have some information on IP address ranges for Oldsmar, but I don't know which of these is
Just kind of more
exactly it.
Well,
you know me with my shitty internet access here, man. It's going to kill this thing from me.
We won't have any more flipping shit show, will we?
No,
I think we're running about 300.
I'll have to kick up my web ramp. Do you guys remember the web ramp? You could take two phone lines, two modem connections, and combine them.
Oh, bridging. Early bridging. Yeah.
Yeah, it was called a web ramp. So I was the first guy in my neighborhood to have 64 kilobits per second. They're like, how do you do that? Yeah. How the hell do you do that? Web ramp, bro. Web ramp. Can I get one of those? Nope. You cannot have my web ramp. No, but this is, I don't know. I've never seen this site before, but I don't know. I think we could do some research and figure some of this shit out. This one. I'll just put it here.
Well, you would hope that research had already been done.
And this is on the word hope.
Well, trying to maintain some optimism.
Yeah, don't worry, but don't telling you. So here's the interesting thing. You might be right. I mean, there's a bunch of conversations going on. Watching the chat at the moment, with some of the crew going, folks should have it, NERC should have it, DHS should have it. That's one of those interesting things. It's like should being the operative word, to be perfectly honest.
Right. Well, and if they don't, well, then I mean, I would start, look at that. I would start a huge effort on it, right? We have to have that.
This for you, John.
That's awesome.
Actually, you know what? Actually, somebody who might know, let me just shoot them a message off a different segment. Hey,
Tennessee Valley Power Ass.
are we going to get to have
Power Ass.
certain systems tonight?
I'm not going to
Oh,
get
yeah.
any
Go
knocks
ahead.
on my door from hanging out with you two tonight, am I?
Oh yeah.
How do you get it? How do you get a power? How do you get a power? How do you get a power ass? Lots of squats, probably. Lots of squats.
Sorry, VHS.
I should do some squats. Hey, speaking of squats, Chris, how's the diet coming, man?
Not bad, thank you. Last Saturday I was down. What was it? 4.5 pounds, I think. When I weighed myself Friday night and I put a post out on Saturday. Although it's probably gonna be more this week, to be honest, because Saturday, Sunday, Monday I was down pretty heavily. I was literally on kind of fluids and dried stuff and all that good stuff. So it didn't feel too good. So yeah, last couple of
Well,
days has
good,
been
man.
nice. So keeping it good. Yeah. So I think we'll see. It's really interesting. It's interesting seeing how the brain works and seeing how the body works. And you walk upstairs, the brain's like, get in the kitchen, eat something. Get in the kitchen, the fridge calling, and all that shit. It's like, no, I'm just gonna listen for a second.
Yeah. Well, I see Richie's and he's telling us to drink water. Oh, it's Tennessee Valley Power Association, not Tennessee Valley Power Ass. I like Tennessee Valley Power Ass better, but all right. So fucked up on that. You should put a period at the end of the ass. I've done that so many times where I've done whiteboards and I've meant to type out, write out app management. You'd write ass MGMT. Like,
Oh yeah,
nope,
yeah.
that's not right. Ass management or an information security assessment and infosec ass. Stupid. All right, I'm gonna get Richie wants me to get water, so I'm gonna get water. You guys chit chat. I'll be back.
Yeah, we'll keep chit chatting. I'm waiting. I just hit a very, very good friend. He's not a friend, he's family. Up on about this question. I just said, is there a list anywhere inside DHS, FERC, or anyone for the IP ranges for critical infrastructure systems? So it'll be interesting to see what he comes back with. If anybody would know.
Well, you would hope. I mean, that's
yeah, hope. Hope springs eternal. Do we want to keep going down this one?
Hope in one hand, shit in the other.
Yes, you would.
One makes me happy and the other one just smells.
Yeah, that's true. You keep hoping with that hope. I'm intrigued. I'll be interested to see what he comes back.
And you know what? Here's the deal. If they don't, then we'll just create it. Why are you asking?
Not far off of it. I close it now. Oh, fuck. We are so fucked. It's not even funny.
Yeah, so we should create that list before. Here's what I don't understand. I would assume our adversaries have collected such lists. And if,
we just ask them. Is that what it comes?
Why don't we just take their copies?
1-800 China. Hello. Can we have our list of where all our shit is, please?
Yeah, it's their gear. They know where it lives.
Wait. Actually, no. Okay, so the caveat on that one is actually it's really interesting. So much of energy one's got. So I know energy's got. So again, it's piecemeal. This is really interesting, and if anybody should know, he is. And I'm not going to name him for the obvious reasons. He would be one person who would absolutely know. So that's interesting. You're right. If I was doing adversarial research against a target, one of the first things I'm going to do is map my terrain, military tactics. My terrain. Okay. Why the fuck don't we have that? Pay one intern for 6 months inside a department somewhere, give them a phone book of every single fucking utility and say, call them up, ask these questions. If they don't have the answers, send them something to do something. Yes,
Right.
they have, no, they don't. Yes, they have, no, they don't.
You would think it would be that easy. Again, back to that hope. And there's no reason they can't do that or shouldn't. And by the way, there are how many people that we interact with on a daily basis on LinkedIn who are looking for an opportunity to get a foot in this industry. Great. Go send them. Give them an opportunity. Give them an internship. Give them, get college kids to do it.
Yeah.
You and I should when we should connect offline and there's a couple of universities we might want to call up and just say, hey, you guys need a research project and it looks a lot like this.
This shit's not that hard. You break it up into heating, water, light, whatever, and it's literally just getting, some close spaces. But yeah, makes sense. This shit's not that hard.
But it is. And here's why I'm going to tell you this. Because I don't get it.
Did you see Will's? Will, I love you and I hate you at the same time.
Seriously, right? Sorry. Damn it. Gift and a curse. It's a gift and a curse.
So, every single department across the US is going to have a fucking PDF questionnaire to fill out and send back to the agents.
I hope not. You know how I felt when I found out? So we had done the show on Thursday. And then I read this water thing after we had done the show. And I'm like, don't tell me that we gave somebody an idea.
I keep saying we've got to kill people. People have got to figure out how to kill people. I'm up for it. At the fucking, seriously, honestly, at this point, we could gather all the data. Let's be perfectly honest. And there's all sorts of interesting things that can happen at that point in time. You good God. That gets really interesting. I am surprised, and I'm not surprised that certain ice hackers have some of the information. Environmentally, EPA is effective as fucking a chocolate fire god, let's be honest.
And part of that, I think, is the disconnected nature, right? Like everybody seems to want to operate within groupings and factions. And no one's, even within the ISACs, you're not really sharing as openly. And to your point earlier, the water ISAC doesn't know about the events against its own infrastructure.
And that's frustrating. Clueless.
They all have to register with the EPA.
So that should be a freedom of information, although that will probably be like Chris's envelope hand delivered. When you ask for the list, file a Freedom of Information Act request for that list. I guarantee you they're going to hand deliver the results.
Totally. I really want that. I'll have to give him a cuddle. We'll invite him in for a cup of tea and biscuits. All the normal good stuff you do with the agents.
Here's a Homeland Infrastructure Foundation level data. I think I've got it. A list of every water treatment plant in the U.S. and their addresses. So we could
there's got to be a spreadsheet somewhere with it.
Yeah, I can download this one.
So
140. It says 140,076. That can't be right. There's got to be some duplicates in here.
It might be. Because there's a lot of shared infrastructure. So for example, my city has a water share program set up with one of the neighboring cities.
Denver's got water. Denver's got a bunch of water treatment plants. We got 3 or 4 of the damn things.
Oh yeah,
we got more than that by the looks of it. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 of them at least. Marston, Denver, Robert H. Light Treatment Facility, Moffat Water, Skater Water, Englewood Water Plant, NGL Water Solutions, Reclamation, Denver Wastewater Management,
Aspen Consolidated, Plum Creek.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 15 just in Denver at least. I mean, Denver's a decent start. Okay, Denver's 1 million or so people, and there's 15 of them. You extrapolate that, you times that by three. Well, you got 350 million. So take it and kind of multiply it out a little bit.
Oh, these are wastewater treatment plants. Well, that's kind of, well, is that the same? Those are
Here's
different.
the thing.
It can be, but it can also be separate.
Because here's what I'm looking at. No, block your shit. I don't want that. So here's your area, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Oh, ain't that pretty? Oh, yeah. I've seen this.
Ain't that pretty?
I've seen this list before. Well, not for this, but for other things along these lines. Yeah, I forgot about this stuff. I totally forgot about this one. Yeah, I mean, that would work. I mean, shit, again, go back to them. Hang on, they're all, yeah, Marcy Golf. That's the one I'm looking at right now. God, we could have some fun with it. No, we couldn't. I mean, we could help effectively.
Georgetown.
Yeah.
Blackhawk.
Yeah. So, I mean, stuff like this would be, again, taking this out, dedupe it, give it to an intern or a project person, say, go fetch. Do this for water, do this for lighting, do this for heat and power. I mean, some of it's in place, some of it isn't, and just get a list and start bashing it out. I mean, to Ryan's point, our adversaries have probably got a really nice list. I mean, honestly, we just pick up the fucking phone and ask them.
I mean, why wouldn't they? That's the part about this that's probably most disturbing is why such a lack of. I get that the American idea of security is rooted in, come on, I dare you to come on over here and start something.
Right.
But the internet negates that double ocean thing. Right? Like, sorry, like, oops.
Well, I mean, they are just not in the physical form. This is back to your analog digital.
And I swear to you guys, and that's why I said, believe it or not, we should use snail mail. Don't send them an email. Send them a packet. Send them a packet with here's how to do what to do here, and hell, get somebody in the chat had said something about a thumb drive.
Let's not do that. Because then other people who are enterprising.
I know. But because we got to reach them somehow, like, and that's the thing, we can get that intern, but who are you going to get to do that?
Chip says plants and companies are different people. Why do you say people? It makes it sound like you're talking to me like I'm dumb. I didn't know that.
At the end of the day, if it's on the bloody internet,
people,
it water, or it can do something with water, it's going to be fair game.
It goes back to something I had said on the Twitter. If it can kill you, we need to take a hard look at it. And I like Evan's idea of doing the two things. And I think if it can kill you, that multi-factor needs to be 4-step or at least 3.
Yeah.
And, you can, by the way, you can also do some, non-technical process changes, right?
Yeah, Tim's right. Water treatment facility director. Wow, this is the 10th USB drive we've received this week. That, I mean, shit, we've done that. I mean, we did is it RSA? It was RSA year before last. I think it was Google or Microsoft or somebody was giving out shit. So we got a whole bunch of their t-shirts and their glasses and hats. And then we got their USB drives and dropped a friendly payload. There's still a payload, but a friendly one on. And then they were all around their booth. So they had their people like around the corners of their booth. We went one set of booths further out and started giving shit out. We had the t-shirts and the glasses and all this stuff on. We started handing out like Microsoft USB drives. And we handed out 100 and something odd USB drives. It wasn't an hour later that some of them started pinging home. It's fucking brilliant. Just like, yep, I love you all. Bless you and all that stuff. I love them. All right, so that guy is arguing.
This would be a fun project. Should we give the listeners any update on what we did last week? We actually did something.
You can
that
update. You're the one.
process.
Yeah, you were awesome. You've driven and done good things.
I think it's a start. I think, yeah. So I think last week we talked about these really difficult challenges, right? The people, the most, fuck, what was the question? The root of all information security industry problems, right, was people. And we talked about all this shit, and we talked about how do we affect change. And one of the things we talked about was, establishing a think tank, something like that, with, a very, I guess, strict mission statement, and some really strict core values to keep people honest. Yeah, so we did put that together. We put together kind of a first draft, and I think we've got some cleaning up to do, and then we'll start. I think we're going to have a meeting, the three of us, probably next week, or no, the week after,
Yeah,
when you get back, Ryan,
Yep.
to figure out what our kind of our root people are going to be. That membership kind of levels that we defined in that document. Founding members, executive members, voting members, and non-voting members. Because one of the things brought up, Ryan, was how do we, we wanted to bring people in that maybe are new to the industry and give them the ability to kind of mentor them. So they would probably have like a non-voting membership. Yeah. Anyway, so we are going to keep that shit going, and I want to keep this shit going too. Let's like you said, Chris. Let's continue to build these lists, have them, give it off to an intern. None of us really have time to do much of it with everything else going on. I can't take on anything else right now, but two things, right? Give us that IP address range, and scan, or you can scan it yourself, scan it. If we'll scan it for you, and then
here's my one call out on this one, and just as much fun as we have with all this stuff, my one call out, I would probably put a phone call into some friends at DHS and say, hey, we're doing this. We're doing it for the right reasons. We're doing it for research. We're also doing it for the right reasons. We're doing it so we can hand you a data set, but we're also doing it because we think somebody at a higher power needs to keep an eye on this shit. So you guys don't have time. Nobody's really doing it. Water ice hacker, right south with its elbow. And so, we're going to do it, and just get, not really even ask, but say, hey, this is what we're doing, in case you get a phone call going WTF from anybody. So consider it citizens being nice for a change.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder, okay, so that brings up an interesting point. What's up on InfraGard chipping in the resources to help pull this together?
I'm taking a fifth on that. Am I allowed to take the fifth as a foreign national? Or is it the fourth?
Sure, why not? It's a free-for-all, dude. It's 2021. Who gives a shit? It's a free-for-all these days. Whatever you want, pal.
InfraGard does do some good things. InfraGard does do some good things. My only concern is like a lot of things in InfraGard, it'd be like, hey, we've got this really cool idea, and at which point it'd be like, and it would never see the light of day again. And
it does happen.
Unfortunately, it does. Or you'll see the light of day again in 12 months or 24 months time, when the day is pretty useless, unfortunately. So I would rather have it. I actually have some love. There's some really good folks over at DHS, and actually, when you think about the stuff that what's his name, Biden's put into place with crap, who is it? Who's recruiting on the White House? Who looks after? Hang on, please hold. I always have to do this. I got to go to whitehouse.gov. If you go to whitehouse.gov, go to the page store.
Right.
Who is it? Yep. USDS. USDS is probably they might actually be interested in this one actually as well, because they're recruiting the crap out of things. So I know we all probably all know folks over there in DHS. Maybe just say hey to both of them. Say, hey, look, let's. This is what we're gonna do, whether you like it or not. We're not waiting for you. We're gonna fucking do it. And just a heads up in case you get a phone call. We ain't doing it for the wrong reasons. You don't need to send the feds around. If you do, we'll offer them to you and tell them to piss off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea too. Somebody had an idea about student projects.
Yeah. Ryan was saying that Ryan was saying that he's like, hey, we should probably have an offline conversation about maybe some students or research projects or something. But
right, it's getting so what it comes down to, and Will brings up a great point. If we can have protections and cover, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, the very fact that we would need to make that call to go heads up, we're not the bad ones.
Right.
But to that end, I think between the three of us, we know enough of the right people to pull together what would be needed to do an official, like a blessed program. Because that would be the best, right? If we could get, say, look, Homeland or Digital Services, right? This work needs to happen. This is a great internship project for these students in partnership with this university, right? So that everything stays above board.
We do know somebody at community college, by the way.
We do. I wonder who that might be.
Yeah, I don't know, but.
And we do know people at Homeland and NICE. Ooh, maybe that's what we do is we get Homeland and NICE together with a handful of schools.
I just asked somebody I know pretty well to say, hey, if we the concerned citizens decide to go and build the data set, who do we give it to? In other words, who's that? Here's another. We'll hit that in a second. Who do we give it to? Who owns it, and who's going to want to yell at us for doing it? So,
right.
I asked that to the same person I asked if the shit actually exists. So we'll see what we get back from them. So here's my intrigue. We do this. We get an entire list of thousands of IP ranges / whatever's publicly accessible. We got the data set. What do we do with it? Do we take a look at it and help them understand where the risks are? Gentle, nice, civilized scans like the rest of the internet does to every other bit of the internet? Do we hand it over to somebody for it never to see the light of day again? Because I don't want to put all this effort in. I got to be honest, for it to disappear down a dark hole. It's hiding to nothing. I want to do it if we're going to do it for the right reasons. I don't want to put the threat of publishing the data, not the data, but the results of the data if people don't do shit. Sometimes that's how you have to do it. I don't know. I'm intrigued. What do we do with it?
Well, first thing we have to do is we're going to have to distill it. Because if all we get are the /28s, I mean, so many times in small government, and that's the reality. That's where what we're talking about here. The water facility that got attacked was a small, government. The fire station is on the same subnet as the library. It's on the same subnet as the water treatment plant. So, there's going to need to be that next level of network interrogation to figure out what you're really actually looking at. And then, I think what you use the data for is to feed the fixing of the problem. So now that we know what your IP is, right? Now that we have that list, we can give that to the ISACs. We can give that to Microsoft and Amazon and say, there really shouldn't be a whole lot of traffic going here, right? You could actually use that data to start to build the green list. Yeah, that's the term now. Build the green list. Boom, there you go. It's not perfect, but it's way better than where we're at right now.
It's something.
And that's got me thinking too, because our first thing is do these two things, right? But what's the next two things? I think having that sort of mapped out, that roadmap, it shows that there's more of a strategic direction. This isn't just a one and done. This isn't just we're doing this in reaction to this one particular attack. No, we're doing this because it's the right thing to do for critical infrastructure. I don't mind. This could be a good opportunity for kind of what would they call that when during wartime, when you would recruit citizens, civic something, but citizens would be like part of, what did you call that?
Civilian auxiliary force.
Something like that. Kind of like that same kind of thing. Yep. But maybe this is a good opportunity for a citizen government kind of partnership opportunity kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because we are actually at war. I mean, I don't know if people knew that. Right. That shit's actually happening. And the government doesn't have enough resources to protect, obviously, all the critical infrastructure. So what a great opportunity to make this part of our civic duty, so that I think we'd have to work with government in some capacity, but
Chip,
we have to
Chip's,
drive it.
I think Chip's explaining how ITOT and all that kind of stuff and everything else. And by the way, we're not going to scan an OT network. I don't want to take any shit down. Simple as that.
Right. Seriously.
But most of us, probably most of us on the call here, I think, understand how ITOT and a few other things work. Just a heads up. Try and get rid of the White House now.
Because I have that same concern, Chris. If we don't get to the right people or we don't work with the right people, it will just die. It'll be a waste of
yeah,
effort.
and exactly. I think that's there's a lot of other things, although I'm not sure many of them are more critical than this. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Now, here's the other interesting caveat on this whole bloody thing. Back to something we were just talking about. Having done some work for a variety of them, you guys have done the same thing. Unfortunately, often the city has a block, and they're like, well, they're somewhere in this block.
Well, and that's what I'm talking about, right? That's the second phase of the technical work, is filtering that down. And to your point, Evan, maybe the next thing after you implement that is figure out the city block and who's got what assigned. So, they start to do their local polls on their address spaces and see what they actually have assigned within their city range.
Right.
And let's not forget this too.
Whoa, hang on. Well, we got to stop this noob shit. Sorry, I just saw a car when the host. Okay, there's no noob shit.
I'm a noob, dude.
Yeah,
I'm a total noob.
Noobs. Yeah, that's got to stop, please. No noobs. Make that comment go away, please.
But to your point too, Chris brought up the point that we're taxpayers, so I have a right as a citizen to know that these things are adequately protected, right? Citizens don't know what maybe to ask, but this is a civic duty. And I think we can play that card too. So if we don't get traction, what then? Well, then, let's start going to, news agencies or something, do some PR shit. I don't know.
Citizen Water Patrol. We have it for the Air Patrol, right? We've got Citizen Air Patrol. Let's do Citizen Infrastructure Patrol, CIP.
So here's the thing, and this is something I do know a lot about and I just got reminded about it by the good friend. We're talking about DHS, and then back to that soft spot for DHS, the DHS Vulnerability Disclosure Program that's out there, and used it a few times. They actually would be the one. So the logic seems to be, we set it up, let them know what we're up to. We don't penetrate, we don't do anything nasty, we don't do anything to take anything down. We can actually run it all and tell them about the vulnerabilities. They can either put the messages on, they can do something else, or we work closely with them on the research and everything else. So this is what I'm getting from him. He's like, yeah, that would be freaking awesome. And because he's like, they've tried to do it. The problem is Homeland tried to do it. They got kicked out. Everybody got pissed at them. I think probably because they went into heavy-handed in cases. DHS has to ask to do it. Well, you know how that goes down so often. Oh, get out of my stuff. We can do it, tell DHS, and then because of the vulnerability disclosure program, they have to do something about it.
I like this.
I like that.
And
yeah,
as long as we tread softly, which, let's face it, you're not scanning anything any differently than anybody else does on the entire internet anyway, as it is. Right. So all we'd be doing is concentrating the efforts. We'd put protocols in place for whoever's doing it, whatever's doing it, all that kind of stupid shit. The list would have to be relatively open source, but need to know basis. So if we had to share it with DHS, Homeland, or whoever else, we can share it with them effectively, safely, and all that shit. But this is what he's saying, is that that's probably the best way to do it, and then use the vulnerability disclosure, because then they have to do something about it. I love people. I love the ability to actually get hold of people at 10:30 at night and ask them these kind of crazy questions and get fantastic answers. It's just, I love the community we have.
I like it.
And I agree with that. But these are the first two steps. These are those baby steps.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we work down that same path with next two or the next two or the next two baby steps, or we work with different groups, but this is, this is what we think are probably the most significant kind of highest priority things is you don't know what the hell you have dangling out there for number one. And the things that you do have dangling out there, you either need to turn them off or you need to secure them with MFA. Those are the two things, right? So then, defining what the next two things are, because there'll be more two things. Like one of the things that ticks me off about all of our critical infrastructure is the fact that they didn't build that shit with any redundancy.
Right.
It's not resilient.
Right.
Well, that's a bigger, more in-depth kind of project. But if you have the success of the first two steps and the next two steps, maybe by the time you get to those steps, you've already got kind of a name and a partnership kind of going with these people. Because I don't want, I don't like the head-handed, like smack them upside the head kind of thing. Because these are hardworking folks, man. Oldsmar, the water treatment folks, I don't blame them.
Nope. No, they saved the day. They saved the day.
Right. And they keep the water going. That's what they get paid to do.
Yep.
Somebody installed something they shouldn't have installed. Fuck. This is
that's how it went down. The question got asked because they went to the conference and they saw that the other city could do it that way. And he's like, hey, I want to do it this way too. And they called the vendor. The vendor came in and said, no problem.
Yeah.
It goes back to that vendor accountability that we constantly circle back to, which I hope will be one of the core tenets of the trust. Is it's time to get transparent and honest and real about what does and doesn't and did and didn't. And until we start doing that as a non-biased voice.
Yeah, for sure. And I like, and I've talked about this before with an incident on the incident response side, because we had some kind of just shitty things last year that it brought to bear that as a country, if that 427 hospital attack had actually been a real ransomware attack, we would have been fucked.
Yeah, big time.
And and that's that thing. But on kind of the same sort of lines, it's like you almost need to have people, if you're going to be working on critical infrastructure, meaning including IT systems, security systems, you have to have some level of certification and skill. You can't just have willy-nilly, computer shop down on Main Street, a small town America, come and set up your water treatment plant, install TeamViewer and say, hey, there you go, you mode it, right? You're good. You got to have some, when you're talking critical infrastructure, not other stuff, right? If you want to go install, something that's maybe a little less critical, but critical infrastructure is like fucking critical. We can't have people, just anybody doing this shit.
Well, and I think it again goes back to vendor accountability too. Like you can't, so just like with medical devices, if the thing has the potential for harm, it goes through a higher level of rigor. If the software is going to run the plant, if you're going to use software in the plant that's not designed for in the plant, right? It should have to go through a higher bar of rigor before it can be installed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree.
Does it allow for remote access? Yes or no? Does it require a password? Yes or no? That's a real good starter. There you go. There's your lightweight vendor risk assessment. 2 questions.
Yeah.
Does it allow remote access and does it require a password?
Right. Well, because if you have that are unqualified working on this shit, people will die.
It's going to happen. This is as far as I'm concerned, what I saw happen and what I'm continuing to see happen and what I predict we will see for the next 2 to 5 years as the ball of yarn of what really went down a few months ago unwinds. And that's only up to what we'll know. Some of it we may never learn. Some of it might be, classified for 50 years. But as the ball unwinds, I'm sorry, Apple put out 3 0-day emergencies. When has Apple ever emergencied anything? Red flag, right. People. Red flag. Real tech, anyone? You got some real tech in your house. Oh, and did you notice that when Microsoft pushed the update, you actually have to go in unless you have drivers automatically set to update. You actually have to go in and do that update. They didn't put it as part of a security patch.
Yeah, the carrier update.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how many home users know how to go into the Windows Update settings and find the advanced tab?
Hey, I got to keep my botnet running somehow.
That's right, man. I'm making a ton of money right now, crypto mining.
No, apparently says, hey.
Yeah, well, hey, you
Yeah.
know, that, and she hit me up this morning. She's like, hey.
So she had connected to me. She had connected to me. So I got to be honest, I nailed, disabled, blocked. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I saw that. That's why I accepted her invite, because I'm like, oh, this will be fun. We'll hit it on both fronts.
That's awesome.
I mean, honestly, my responses, I'm surprised it didn't. I mean, scammers are highly motivated, right? It didn't dissuade her in the least. She's like, you can make all this money. I'm just like, I love money.
But she's, obviously been in the game for a little while because she knew exactly where her boundary was, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Along the line.
Yep.
It's interesting because I wonder. I bet you, some of the newer ones into the game, they'd give you out more information. Like, oh shit, I think I said too much.
Right. No, she seemed to be. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Whatever. It's possible I was talking to a bot as well.
You asked some interesting questions. I'm not sure a bot would have come. Well, I take it back. Might.
And that's why I ask the interesting questions. That's why I do that stuff. So I'm trying to figure out, is this a real human? Is this a bot? Either way, if it's a human, they're wasting their time on me. They're not going after somebody else. So, as my wife looked at me like, "What are you doing?" Because I'm just giggling.
Oh, I can only imagine that one. Sorry, I was on the other channel talking back, and he's giggling. He's like, "Yeah, you do this shit." And we have some intel. Let's just put it that way.
Vanessa Smith. That's your new friend.
She is. Yeah.
So I'll tell you now, some of the stuff to your 50-year date, yeah, some of that shit's never going to come out. I'll tell you that for nothing. Well, yeah, it's never going to come out. It isn't.
I wouldn't think it would, given
it would.
If you were paying attention, the information that came out.
What's not going to come out?
Some of the repercussions of what happened a couple of months ago will not come out. They never will. They will never be released, at least not in our lifetime.
I'm sure.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
What I found interesting was that the first 2 hours after the release, there was some very interesting information. That information has since been very difficult to find.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you were paying attention, you can connect some dots.
Well,
you'll never get the full story.
No, but in the first couple hours, they did make some very for real.
Yeah.
And then that was whoop, gone.
Squashed. Deliberate. Yeah. Well, long conversation one day over a bottle of something interesting in a glass of something good, or a good cup of tea. Good
cup of tea. I'm into this. Yeah.
Cup of tea.
Speaking of that kind of stuff, I've got to call it a reasonable night tonight. I got hit up by a very, very good friend of mine who is talking with the folks over at Wired, because the company he tried to disclose to doesn't want to listen to him, and Wired's validate it. So I'm sitting on all the information. So my job tonight is to validate that the breach information of a large number of individuals is valid or not valid, and all those kind of good things, and get back to them tonight. So I have my work cut out for me tonight. Just a quick heads up. So
we can write this.
Yeah, we can wrap it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think two things. And Chris, and Ryan, this was yours, but I got two things out of this. One, the two things, right? But we got to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? How to get those addresses and then help them.
I think we can do it. I mean, hell, if we have to get an intern, we've got to pay them. I got no problem chipping in for this. I will put some money towards an intern for some. You know what I'd love to do? I'll be honest. What I'd love to do on this one is get like Joanna Udo and the Bridges and Tech folk involved, and have one of the people that they want to get into this industry be part of it as well, potentially, or a student, or possibly both. Maybe double team or something like that. Because I just do again a little bit of a. I want somebody who's not us getting into this industry.
So we should do I love that idea. And there's lots of deserving people and lots of different things. Why don't we do a contest? Write your mission statement. Write your why you want to be in this industry mission statement. What drives you? And
cash money dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put money. I'll put money in it. As long as HHS still keeps doing its thing, and as long as I end up doing whatever I end up doing, and there's money, I got no problem putting money into this. If it helps fix the situation and brings awareness and all that stuff, I'll put money in towards some kind of an internship that people will get a lot of publicity for. You know, if somebody's coming in, they get the publicity. As long as it's positive publicity, I don't see a problem with it.
right.
Yeah, we will too.
Yeah.
Ryan, we will too. Security Studio put something.
We'll have a conversation offline about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be totally cool.
This is how we make the difference, right? We talk about mentorships. Well, this is a great opportunity, and it's tactical, practical work.
Yeah, this is cool shit, man. The last 2 weeks, it was awesome to come out of these talks with actionable shit to do. That, last week we did that shit, we're gonna do this shit. It's awesome, man, because making a difference sitting here talking about a lot of these things, they're really good for our brains and good conversation. But it's just like icing on the cake when you actually have some shit to do with it. So I love it. Thanks, guys.
No, this is good.
Awesome.
I will caveat this, but I think is it mine next week? Can't remember. Yeah, or is it? I don't know. I'll have to go and look at the damn spreadsheet.
Well, next week.
Yeah,
nobody's.
But you're right. Yeah. We haven't had a chance to. This bugger's off of the internet next week, and I don't know how you feel about it. I'm pointing this way because Evan, you're this way. I don't know how you feel about it. I would rather not have him sitting and go, well, should I, shouldn't I? I just let's just declare it. Either we declare it a holiday or just you and I come with bullshit. But I'm happy to declare it a holiday and then I'll pick back up the following week. Yeah,
that sounds totally good. Yeah, it's the three of us, man. We're like the Egos, three musketeers.
That's my fault. That's my thing. That's my fault. Yeah. So you bugger off and disconnect for a week. Hopefully, when you come back, there's some internet left. And then so dear everybody, bring on Jesse. Oh my giddy aunt, could you imagine that one? That would actually be hilarious.
Well, and it'll be interesting too, guys, because I'm doing a full disconnect without going all the way out into the woods. So I'm going to be real curious to see, because I haven't done this way since technology's been invented. So we're going to see how this goes. I should have some interesting, hopefully some interesting ideas being disconnected from the dopamine machine.
Actually, that's we have Rachel cool to have on. Yeah, we might take a break next week. We'll figure it out. We'll brainstorm offline. All right.
The three of us can talk it out, hash it out.
Exactly. All right. I gotta go find if a well-known company just got its ass handed to it. We'll have that conversation offline in a second, possibly.
All right.